All right. So Nick, tell me a little bit about your company. Like what's your main focus? How many employees you have? Do you have like revenue forecasts? Give the listeners a little roundabout about who you are, what your business is.
So my business is Krogstad Remodeling, and we primarily specialize with interior remodeling, which is kitchens, bathrooms, basements, and then whole home. So that's our main focus. We do have the capacity to take on exterior. It's just probably 10 to 15% of our business. It's myself. I'm the owner operator, and I have one W-2 employee, and that's actually my brother. So he's been with me since 2023. Yes, we've been going at it now for about 3 years together. Started my business in 2022, but I've been in the trades, been around it for pretty much my entire life. My dad had a company. I worked for him since 2013. So worked for him for about 13 years up until we got to the point where it was either I just kind of wait and take over his business, which was Krogstad Construction, or I just form my own, start clean, and make the transition over a couple years.
You scaled your existing business, right? How did you go about doing that? I've seen some comments on social media, right? Like maybe you were in the 300K, so you're over $1 million. Like walk me through how you grew to grow and where you're kind of thinking in the future.
Yeah. So I like to measure it from 2024 to now, just because 2024 was the year that I took on, my schedule was full and I was taking on as much jobs as I could. So it just gives me a good metric to compare. And 2024, I think I finished the year about 490,000 in revenue. And I was paying myself a $70,000 salary, paying my employee a $70,000 salary. And I think I brought home about 5% net that year. It was nothing impressive. Granted, I had some truck expenses. I had to get a new engine in one of my trucks, and that chewed up, 15 grand. But nonetheless, 2024 was a pretty humbling year. And that Christmas was pretty humbling after going over my numbers and realizing you made 5% net profit, and that's not very good. So I really took a long, hard look at the way that I was running my business, because it's one thing to know how to do things well. I mean, we had a full schedule. Our clients were happy. We were getting good testimonials. We were doing quality work. We kept getting referrals. But I kind of figured out like, okay, something's still broken along the process, and it likely falls on me and the way that I'm handling the project management of this. So it really boiled down to changing the way that I estimated. And even at the time in 2024, the way that I was going about estimating was a step up from, what I was doing before that. So I thought I was doing it pretty well at the time. It's just this like ever evolving, evolution of just your process and realizing what you were doing before.
Can you walk me through some details on that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first started out, I mean, it was literally just like pen and paper and writing it out, going off my experience of what I thought things costed and how long I think things would take. I didn't track how long jobs took, or even just certain tasks within the job. I definitely was not tracking my overhead, so I didn't know my fixed operating expenses or even the variable operating expenses with payroll. And so my estimating software went from essentially a pen and a paper, writing it out in an email and sending it via email, to I created a template on Canva, and that kind of became more of a formal proposal. But even still, I still had to go in and customize each line item. And I did it really based off of just experience and what I thought. I'd go off the past job of, well, the flooring here was $800, so I'm going to put in $800. And it still didn't cover every single little thing in there. So it was really hard to track, like the job bid versus the actual, or even expenses throughout the job. It was really difficult to track. I just did not have any system or process for that. And then going from Canva to Google Sheets was a really big step up, because then I created, with the help of my brother, and this is where his business side of things really came in handy from his previous career, creating a pretty robust and detailed Google estimating sheet with all the formulas in there and all that. So then we were able to actually track, the 100 line items of materials and the cost for that, and basically account for every little thing, like a tube of silicone or glue, whatever it is. And also track our net operating expenses. I got really disciplined about that. And going into the profit margin. So I was still bidding on markup at that point. And I think just the rule of thumb for me was like a 22% markup. And that's just what my dad was doing all these years. So I didn't really have any formal training on what was appropriate. I'd read in like the Journal of Light Construction or something that a 22 to 50% markup was fine. But not having an idea of what my operating expenses was really put me in a position where it was like, I thought that I was making pretty good profit on it, but I couldn't see where all the leaks were, or just where all my profit was getting chewed up throughout the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that estimator on Sheets was a game changer. And then we essentially just turned that into a custom estimating software built for our company. And so that's what we use now. And it just spits out a really clean, professional looking proposal. It's extremely detailed. And then I switched from bidding on markup to margin. And the reason for doing that was a home builder in my state also has a podcast, and I was listening to that and reached out to him. And he talked about how he wished he would have bid on margin rather than markup. And for me, I thought they were just both interchangeably the same term. You're talking about the same thing. And you really are. It's just literally a different math equation to find out your profit margin. And it was so confusing at first, but then once I actually realized like a 25% markup on a job really comes down to like a 20% margin. And then you subtract your net operating expenses, it makes sense why I had 5% in 2024 when I'm operating. Yeah. Like it all made sense at that point. So we've changed that with the estimating software. And now I just try to do a minimum of 25% gross on our projects. And that ends up with a 18 to 20% net, which is a pretty healthy net profit for our small company, especially when we figure our labor that we have factored into the bid too. So
nice. What other efficiencies do you find? So besides estimating, some operations, any other areas that you have found, like a small tweak that creates value kind of deal?
Definitely. I would say my scopes was the second main thing. I had a project in 2024 that basically highlighted everything that I was doing wrong, from the estimating to the way that I was gathering the scope summaries for the project, and even just for each specific trade, getting estimates from subcontractors and doing walkthroughs and being a little bit more diligent on the front end. And then also just getting away from generosity as a business model, in the sense of like, well, if this was my house, if this was my bathroom, this is how I would do it. I know it's not what we agreed on in the scope, but I'm just going to do it this way. And it means you're going to get a better kitchen or a better bathroom, whatever it is, but it's going to cost me more money, more time and all that stuff. And I'm not going to give you a change order for it. I'm just going to do it. I fell into that trap a little bit. But I would say the second thing for sure was the scopes. and just being more diligent up front and realizing that, taking the time, taking 1 or 2 days to have all my subcontractors come and walk the job, and then also just be a lot more detailed in the scope summary and utilizing AI. I mean, that's where AI has honestly probably saved me the most amount of time as an owner operator, just administrative time, trying to comb through dozens of emails from the homeowner or our designer about the upcoming project, and just, the latest selection or the latest plans or decision or still pending decisions. It would take me at least an hour or two on the weekends to just go back through my Gmail and try and find, okay, what's the latest thing on this, and then organize it all into a very detailed thing so that when I meet my contractors out on site, I can give them a very detailed scope summary of what their trade is going to do. And then also just have a very detailed one of the general project. So then that essentially comes down to protecting my profit at the end of the day, and just making sure that the job is going to go smoothly. Everybody's on the same page. So that's really helped. I mean, it started out just with the Google Workspace and being in the Google Sheets and all that, for our estimating. Gemini was able to, with the right prompts and stuff, it can go comb through your emails and organize all that. And then I would ask it to spit out a detailed scope summary, and it struggled a little bit, but then eventually you get to the point where, it's actually very accurate and really helpful. So I'd say the scopes were probably the second thing that really got a good upgrade. And
the AI implementation is a huge one, I think. I know it's a highly contested conversational piece within the contracting world, but in terms of the administration and the task side of things, AI is crazy helpful. It's just so quick, so smart.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't go down this AI path, but that could be like a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Right.
We could schedule something else to talk more about that one for sure. Tell me about how you get leads and traffic today, right? It's a lead funnel. How are you filling your leads and getting jobs today?
So the nice thing about being a smaller company and taking on bigger jobs is our schedule can fill up pretty quickly. So if we're 2 months on a kitchen, or 2.5, 3 months on a full bathroom or something, taking 1 to 2 projects on at a time, it's not unusual for us to be booked 6, 7, 8 months out. Like right now, we're kind of getting into spring and summer of 2027. So the way that the number one way that we get leads, we have a great relationship with the designer that we've outsourced all our design work for. And my dad was working with her for, 10, 15 years up until I started my company. So I've known her essentially since I started in construction with my dad. And I've found over the years that warm and qualified clients typically will reach out to a designer first rather than a contractor. So having a really good relationship with a designer who understands kitchens, baths, or whatever it is that you're doing, I think is really critical, because one, it doesn't cost me anything for the lead unless I give her a referral fee, which we do because they're just really valuable. And you already step into the project, or you step into the process where they may already have design plans. They've got a few selections already picked out, and now they just need a contractor to execute it and to bid it. And so I'd say, 3 out of 4 leads that we get in projects that we're doing from our main designer pipeline.
Nice.
And outside of that, we have done the home and remodeling trade show here at the US Bank Stadium. We've done that the last 3 years, and that has produced, 2 to 4 quality, larger ticket remodels every year. So we enjoy that.
Yeah, that fills up your schedule. That fills up your year, right? You're good at that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, doing like online ads or anything like that, I've never done. I've done some SEO, but I found that it was so expensive trying to keep my costs as low as possible. It was like at least $1,000 a month. And the leads that I kept getting were not really the most qualified leads that I was trying to get, or the projects. They weren't my ideal customer. So it seems like 9 times out of 10, when I get a Google lead, I'm passing on it. So I just didn't really see the value, and maybe I just wasn't targeting very well on that. But at the end of the day, I was like, I'm getting so many leads from our designer. We're starting to do the trade show. I just don't see the value right now for SEO.
So you talk about you're comfortable at the moment. You think you will remain comfortable, or is there a growth plan in place?
Um, well, the way that I'm wired is there's always got to be something going on, and there's always got to be some process or some plan to get to the next level. I feel like if I'm not making progress, then I'm just not living life very well. Like there's something within me that it's just like you have to keep I don't know, measurably doing better and better and better. Otherwise it's really difficult. So yes and no. I mean, I am pretty comfortable right now, but I do really like to I'm 37 right now, so in 10 years, very short years from now, I'm going to be wishing that I put in the processes and the systems in order to actually have a team that could get stuff done where I don't have to be on site and pick up a tool belt. So that's ultimately the goal for sure. It's just I don't necessarily have much ambition to go to like 10 million and turn it into something that's just much bigger than me that I can't really control. And maybe that'll change down the road. It can be hard to see past the next stage. And I see ads all the time for, if you got a $1 million remodeling business, like take it to 10, or why not take it to 100? And it's just like, well, you can just stay where you're at and just have a good income. But I definitely think that growth is in the future for us. And I think that just means defining roles. Like right now, what we're doing is me actually, taking on the project management role, and my brother taking more of the job superintendent role. And then we're both on site, getting stuff done. But eventually I think that's just going to lead us into hiring more talent, like a finished carpenter, where we can actually just kind of slowly increase our output. And then possibly, instead of taking on 1 to 2 jobs, it's like, well, that frees me up my mental load to actually be able to handle 3 jobs, full big jobs at once, and keep things moving and execute them well.
Yeah. Like there's a good saying about like addition by subtraction, right? Like it doesn't mean you need to go get 10 more jobs. Like what can we get more efficient at or subtract in terms of what takes us more time, ultimately creates more value, which could be, revenue. So you don't necessarily need to go get the, like you said, like 1 million to 10 million. Like I'm guilty of talking about that a lot just because I have people who are energized by hitting that revenue number. But there's a lot of value and lessons and just, I guess, comfort, like you talk about. Like it's, you don't need to scale so big, but you can still scale your revenue numbers and your profit numbers by tweaking one little thing or changing one little adjustment in your process or your estimating tool, right? Or, you talk about this finished carpenter. Are you thinking about, are you going to subcontract them, or are you going to bring them on as hiring? And do you now need to get more work to pay for them? Like, where's your head going with all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. My head goes to hiring them as a W-2 and then just trying to take on more work and backfill. Because I feel like, okay, if we're 6-7 months booked out, there's no reason we can't bring some of these jobs, start them sooner. So the work is there, I feel like. And, but I think starting out, it's kind of I don't know. It's like one way is good. It's got pros and cons. The other way has pros and cons. You really just got to pick one and choose. And I like having it in-house because then I feel like they're committed to, my company. I can still manage the quality. They can get to know our process, our systems, and we can kind of grow our company culture that way. And even just providing employment and, a career path. I feel like there's so many younger people who are talking about going into the trades. At least that's what you hear all the time, of just like AI is going to take everybody's jobs. Like, well, what should I be? It's like, well, go be a plumber. It's like, well, the opportunity I feel like is going to be there for the next 10 years if that conversation actually proves to be true. So being in a position where Krogstad Remodeling can bring on somebody in their early 20s who's got a couple years experience, maybe doing some finished carpentry or laying some floor, whatever it is, to where we can then develop them into, I don't know, develop their skill set into more tile work or whatever it is. And then even just try to help them understand how a business is run, and kind of, let them decide what they want to do, whether they want to stick with us for a few years or go start their own company, become one of our subs, So I definitely am more appealed, or the hiring in-house is more appealing to me for those reasons. However, subbing it out, one, you got to deal with just another sub schedule.
Yeah.
It's going to be challenging. I like to keep the amount of subs to a minimum that we need. And I really do enjoy doing the work too. That's the thing. It's like, do I want to just manage people, manage projects, or do I actually want to do a blend of both and still take pride in like what we're doing? But then you don't have the overhead expense. And theoretically, I feel like you can, I don't know. See, it's a conversation that my brother and I have had many times, and we talk about it all the time. And, he's more like, let's sub it out. I'm more, let's hire it, in-house. So we definitely get the conversation worked out. But it ultimately leads us to a place where we realize that we still have untapped potential just with the way that he and I are operating. And it's like you said, if you just tweak that one thing, we might be able to go to, 1.1 or 1.2 million in revenue. I mean, just over the last year, like last year in 2025 was, I think, 560,000 in revenue. Granted, prices have gone up and we're taking on a little bit bigger jobs this year. So there's definitely some stipulations to consider within a year-to-year comparison. But, we were essentially able to almost double our revenue and not take on more jobs, not fall into the volume trap is what I kind of identified it at.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, in order for me to scale or make more money, I just need to do, instead of 2 jobs at once, 3 jobs at once. And then it's like, well, you still got the same foundational issues in your business. So now you just got more stress, more profits leaking, whatever it is.
Yeah.
More subs to manage. So being able to see that and just how, I've changed 4 main things in my business, and it's taken me from 560,000 to 1.03 in revenue. Like I feel like there's still more to grow, and it gets me excited to see what's the next lever that we can tweak to see if we can continue to unlock more and more potential with what we have now. And I kind of look back and look at how my dad did it, because, he was putting up numbers in, like, when it was just he and I back in 2015 to 2018, he was in the $900,000 revenue, and jobs were half the price back then than they are now. And so I know there's still room for me to grow. It's like, yeah, great, you did $1 million in revenue, but it's like, you're still not doing the same output as I know that my dad was doing. So there's still some efficiency and just capacity, like pushing myself to get a little bit uncomfortable and maybe take on that extra job that's going to stretch our schedule. But then it just puts me in a position where I need to figure out how to get it done.
Yeah.
And so taking on more of those projects and flooding our schedule a little bit more just so I can put myself in that position, I think is number 4.
Yeah, you'll get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? All of a sudden that uncomfortable moment doesn't even phase you. Like, yeah, it's just normal.
Right.
And you've got your systems and your processes down, or it's not even a thing, not even a question, no even hesitation, right? Like, yeah, we'll take that job on. Or your capacity. Like, nope, can't take any more. I know where I'm at. I know our processes are here. We're maxed. Yeah, it's interesting. That's good stuff. This was good, man. I loved hearing your story. So thanks for taking time. I know you're busy, so 1 hour is a big move. So I appreciate it.
It was a great conversation. I appreciate you having me on.
Ah, cool. I appreciate that, Nick. All right, man. Well, you have yourself a good day. We'll talk to you later. We'll see you around for sure on the webs.
All right. See ya.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please remember to subscribe wherever you are listening. Also, make sure you follow us on your preferred social platforms. You can find us everywhere at ContractorWorldLand.